So, ready for the second session? Today, we will discuss part 2 of chapter 2 for latitudes and longitudes, SST for class 5. Okay? I repeat again. Today, we will discuss latitudes and longitudes part 2. Today is the second session of SST for class 5th. Before moving to the chapters, we shall discuss about the contents. What have we learned in the first part and what are we going to learn in this session, part 2. So, let's move to the chapter. Now to the contents. I had told you that in this chapter we will discuss and I will explain you about the contents like imaginary lines that are there on the earth, okay, equator, latitudes, longitudes, prime meridian, international dateline, how to locate places on map and globe, how to calculate time with the help of longitude. Okay, in the first part we had discussed about the imaginary lines, right? About the equator. Let's take a quick revise. Let's just revise it very quickly. Equator. What is equator? Equator is an imaginary line at the center of the earth. It is the longest latitude and it divides the earth into two equal halves. Now, latitudes. Latitudes are also the imaginary line, but they run from east to west. Okay, and they encircle the earth horizontally. Next, how many latitudes are there? 181. We had discussed about the hemispheres. There are 4 hemispheres, 2 hemispheres, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. These 2 hemispheres are divided because of the equator. And equator encircles horizontally. Eastern hemisphere, western hemisphere. It is because of the prime meridian that encircles vertically. Okay. How many latitudes? 181 latitudes. Then moving to the longitudes. We had discussed about the longitudes. That the longitudes, unlike latitudes, these lines are not parallel to each other. And what are the numbers of latitudes and longitudes? Latitudes are 181 and longitudes are 360. Other name of latitudes? Parallel of latitudes. And the other name of longitude is also meridians of longitude. We have discussed everything. Okay. Now the prime meridian. Prime meridian is also an imaginary line which divides the earth into 2 equal halves but vertically, and there are also two hemispheres. One is the eastern hemisphere and other is the western hemisphere. Okay, now in today's session we will discuss about International Dateline, how to locate places on the globe or map, and how to calculate time with the use of longitude. Now, without wasting the time, let's move to the International Dateline. Now, as in the next session, we were to discuss about the International Dateline. So, today's our first content is International Dateline. International Dateline is a longitude line. Okay. Now, the International Dateline is exactly halfway around the Earth. Exactly halfway. And it is at 180 degrees. It is almost exactly half around the Earth, except it has to go around Russia. So, a little bit of it is not perfectly right. As you can see, I have shown you in the picture which is near, which is besides that. You can see in that picture one yellow line going through. Whole of the line is straight except when it moves from or when it goes from Russia. Only while going from Russia, you can see that the International Dateline is not perfectly right. Other than that, the whole of the International Dateline is straight. Okay? The line of meridian that runs through the Pacific Ocean and is exactly halfway around the Earth from the prime meridian. That is known as the International Dateline. And as I had told you in the last session, that the International Dateline marks the difference of date between which two hemispheres? Eastern hemisphere and Western hemisphere. The difference of the date which comes means the date everywhere in every country is not the same. And that is, which line shows us that? The International Dateline. Okay. Now I'll show you a clip first in which International Dateline is easily explained. You will be easily understanding it. Now here I will show you a clip. In this clip, how the International Dateline works. You will see how the International Dateline works. So let's move to the clip. So you have seen the clip, and by it will be more easy. I think you must have understood more easily how does an international dateline works. Okay, so now moving to the next topic, that is how can we locate a place on a globe or a map. Now, how can we locate a place on the globe? Have you ever tried to see on the globe how could you locate the places? Which place is far from other place? No, na? Why? Because you don't know. How could it be located? So here we'll see how to locate the places on the globe or a map. So any location on Earth can be referenced by a point with longitude and latitudes originate with longitude and latitude coordinates. Where do latitudes and longitudes coordinate? There you can locate the place. And longitudes and latitudes, they form a network. To locate the place, how would you locate the place? Whenever you see the globe or the map, you would see longitudes and latitudes on that. Okay? Now these longitudes and latitudes, they form a network. And that network is known as grid. That network is known as grid. Grid, you can say that the square which you see, the small squares which you see on the globe, they are because of the vertical longitudes and horizontal latitudes. When they coordinate each other, they form a network, and that network is known as grid. Now this grid helps you to locate the places accurately on the maps and globes. This grid helps you to locate the places on the maps and the globes very accurately. As I had explained you, latitudes are measured in degrees and longitudes are measured by the way of time. Okay, so when these two grids coordinate and form a network called grid, it shows you the distance and how much time would it take. Okay. Now to locate a place on a globe or a map, we should know the proper degrees of latitudes and longitude. Where are these longitudes and latitudes located or situated on the globe? On which degree? 90 degree, 180, or as we had seen the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. While explaining that, I had told you that the Tropic of Cancer is 23.5 degree north, Tropic of Capricorn 23.5 degree S, that is the south. So if you want to locate a place on the globe or a map, you should exactly know the degrees of the latitudes and longitudes. Okay? For example, that New Delhi lies at 29 degree north and 77 degree east. Okay? So, we can find the exact position of the place at a point when these two lines cross each other. Cross each other means when you see the latitude and you see the longitude, they form a square. Okay, so when they cross each other, you can get the actual location of the place. I have shown you a picture here. The first picture is of the grid. It shows you how is a grid formed. So you can see that the latitudes and longitudes, they coordinate each other and then they form a grid. That is a square. Okay. And then in the next picture, I have shown you how can we locate places. How can we locate places? Each latitude and longitude is 15 degrees away from each other. When you see, you will find that each latitude and longitude is 15 degrees away from each other. As you count latitude, latitude means north or south latitude. They encircle, I told you. Okay, and longitude, they are from east to west. Okay, so if 1 degree is equal to 70 miles, then it becomes 112 kilometers. So that is 60 minutes. Yeah, means within 1 hour. When writing locations, latitude and longitude, always list the latitude first. Always list the latitude first. Because I told you, longitude is measured in time. So this is the way you can locate places. Okay. In the next, we will discuss what is a grid and how is it formed. Okay. Let's move to the next. What is a grid? What is a grid and how is it formed? Maps and globes usually have lines on them. We have seen, right? To help locate places on Earth, the lines circling the globe in a north to south directions are called longitudes, and the lines which move from east to west or encircle from east to west around the Earth are latitudes. So these lines, when they crisscross each other means when they pass through each other, they form a grid. The grid is a system of horizontal and vertical lines that cross each other to form a square. When you see a square on the globe or a map, it is a grid. Okay? Map grids are drawn on maps to help map makers find the exact location of a place. When you see the grid, a grid on the map, you have to know that it helps the map makers find the exact location of a place. Okay? Now, these grids are found everywhere. Everywhere means they are on the map also, they are on the globe also, but they aren't on the Earth. If you say that seeing in the space, can we see these grids or can we see these imaginary lines? No. As I have used the word imaginary, I have used the word imaginary. So you can understand, means these lines are only for the help to locate the places. Okay. Now the grid points to the location by using two coordinates. Which are these two coordinates which make a grid? Yes, latitude and longitude. Okay. Have you understood now what is a grid and how is it formed? Grid is formed by the help of two coordinations, two line coordinations. Now, which are these two lines? Which are these two lines? Latitudes and longitudes. They form a square, okay, when the lines of latitudes and longitudes crisscross. Crisscross means this way. Okay, when they crisscross each other, they make a square. You can see. I have made it from the finger, but you can understand. When they crisscross each other, they form a square, and that square is known as grid. Okay, this grids can be seen on the globe also and on the map also, but not on the earth because they are imaginary, right? In the next, I'll show you a clip by which you can easily locate the places. You can learn how to easily locate the place. So let's move to the clip. Now watch the clip very carefully so that you can understand easily.
You all must be knowing about the latitude and the longitude lines that run over the globe. The lines of longitude, they run vertically and are also called meridians. The prime meridian is found in Greenwich, England. The prime meridian is the 0-degree longitude. The lines of latitude locate places east or west of the prime meridian. There are 180 degrees of east longitude and 180 degrees of west longitude. They form an imaginary grid over the Earth's surface. By knowing latitude and longitudes, you can easily locate any place on the Earth. But in order to locate a place, we need to know its exact longitude and latitude. The location is the place where these two lines intersect and is unique for every place on Earth. See, let's take a map of India and we'll try to find out a place based upon its longitudinal and latitudinal information. First, we must also know that the latitude comes prior in reference to the coordinates of a particular position. So, for example, let us take a place called Gujranwala, which is 32 degrees 12 minutes north and 74 degrees 12 minutes east on this map. Taking a zoom insight of this map, now first let us locate 32 degrees north. See where this arrow points. And now let us locate 74 degree east. As I earlier told you, where these two lines meet, you will find your respective location. So let us extend, and here we have Gujranwala at 32 degrees 12 minutes north and 74 degrees 12 minutes east. So that's how easy it is to locate any place on the Earth.
So, you have seen the clip, right? Have you understood? How did it happen? Yes, first you have to locate the latitude and then the longitude. It would be easy after that to locate a place. Okay? Moving to the next, we will see about the next topic, that is how to calculate time. Okay, so let's move to the next topic, calculating time. Longitudes help you in calculating the time. The difference between, now before calculating the time, you should know that the difference between two consecutive latitudes is 4 minutes. Okay, the difference between two consecutive longitudes is 4 minutes. Okay, again I repeat, to calculate time you have to take help of the longitude. Okay, and before calculating the time, you should know the difference between the consecutive longitudes. The difference between the two consecutive longitudes are 2 minutes. No, how many? 4. Yes, they are 4 minutes. Never get confused. Okay. Longitude and time. Now look at the picture which are being shown on the screen. If it's noon, noon means afternoon. If it's afternoon at your location and you know the time in Greenwich, you can calculate longitude. Okay? For calculating the time, you should know the time in Greenwich. First thing you should also remember that the earth rotates 15 degree per hour. The earth rotates 15 degree per hour. Okay? Now, if it is 2 p.m., 2 p.m. means afternoon. If it is 2 p.m. in Greenwich, then it's noon in your location. That is 12 p.m. Means Greenwich is 2 hours forward than us, before than us. The time is 2 hours earlier. Now what is the time difference? 2 hours. So how can you calculate? You can calculate as 2 hours. First you have to take out the difference. Means first you should actually know the time of Greenwich. Then only you can calculate the time of the place which you want. Means you want to know the actual time. So what is it? If it is 2 o'clock in Greenwich and 12 o'clock at your location means where you live, then the difference, what is the difference? 2 hours, right? Now to calculate 2 hours multiplied by the degree per hour. How many degrees per hour? 15 degrees per hour. So 12 hours multiplied by 15. 2 into 15. 2 into 15. So how much it is? 30. Okay. So your longitude is 30 degree west. This is the way you are going to calculate the time. Okay. In the next picture, it is again shown. Just have a look. Time is equal to longitude. Because while calculating the time, you can take the help of longitude. And to know the difference between two places, you have to take the help of latitude. Okay. Now, in the next, I'll show you a clip again. Because explaining helps you to learn, but while seeing something, it helps you to learn more easily. So in the clip, next I'll show you how can we calculate time by the help of longitudes. So here is the clip. Please watch very carefully.
Longitude and time. Time is measured on the basis of the overhead sun. When the sun is overhead at a place, it is 12 noon. This time is called the local time. As the sun is overhead at different times at different places, therefore each place on the earth has its own local time. The earth completes one rotation in 24 hours. In other words, 360 degrees is covered in 24 hours, and 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Therefore, 1 degree is covered in 24 into 60 divided by 360 is equal to 4 minutes.
Longitude and time. Here's our Earth rotating at a speed of 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. Up to this point, you've been lied to. the Earth does not complete one rotation in 24 hours. It actually takes less time. One complete rotation takes 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds. That's one full rotation. The Earth is rotating from west to east, and it always moves in that direction. So because of that, it appears that the sun rises in the east and appears that the sun will set in the west. We're here to talk about how longitude is really related to time. So because the Earth completes a 360-degree rotation in about 24 hours, that works out to about a 15-degree movement per hour. So after 24 hours, it has completed a 360-degree rotation. So the lines of longitude were created to mark off 15-degree intervals. So each line of longitude represents a time zone because it is a marker of 15 degrees from the next line of longitude, which is equivalent to each hour in the Earth's rotation. Let's take a look at it from space. So we're looking at it as if the sun and the Earth were the only two objects in our solar system. And this is not to scale. The Earth is actually much further away from the sun than it appears here. But I want to point out an important relationship. The sun can only shine on one half of the Earth at the time, because only one half can be facing the sun. So if I were to look at the Earth up close, half of it would be experiencing dark and half of it would be experiencing light. We call that division the terminator, and that terminator is a dividing line between night and day. So if you were on Earth and you were here, assuming that the Earth is rotating in this general direction, right? Say the Earth is rotating like this, a location over here is experiencing daytime, so as the Earth rotates this way, we're getting closer and closer to night. So this position is something like dusk, when the sun is low in the sky right before it becomes nighttime. And if I were to follow this movement and come around to this side, this would be dawn, when the sun's about to rise. The edge on the terminator line represents, in one location, the setting of the sun, in another location, the rising of the sun. What we'll do is we'll apply a regular clock to the rotation of the Earth. So on my regular clock, I've marked off 12 p.m., 6 p.m., 12 a.m., and 6 a.m. And I've added this dot, and that dot represents a location that we're going to track. We're going to track it as it moves throughout the day. So right now, this white dot is in line with 12 p.m. That means that it's receiving sunlight. It's noon. It's the middle of the day. So if we were to follow that dot as it travels, we can see it's turning away from 12 p.m. and getting closer to 6 p.m. So now it's experiencing night hours. It's in the darker part. And at this point, it is 12 hours away from where it was before, which was noon. And it moved at a rate of 15 degrees every hour. So after 180 degrees, it's made a 12-hour time difference. If I continue, if I move this forward, now our white dot is approaching 6 a.m., so it's going to see the sun rise. The sun rises. Now it's 7, 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m., back to where we started, one full rotation. And every increment that it shifted was equivalent to 15 degrees, but it's also equivalent to 1 hour. There are 24 time zones that are related to the 24 major lines of longitude. The United States, for example, has 4 time zones associated with it. Those are the Eastern Standard Time, which we're in, the Central Standard Time, which is west of us, Mountain Standard Time, which is further west, and then the Pacific Standard Time, which is even further west. So those are 4 different time zones that are represented by 4 different major lines of longitude. 75 degrees west, 90 degrees west, 105 degrees west, and 120 degrees west. So as you travel west across the United States, you actually go back in time. You go to earlier and earlier time. So for timekeeping purposes, Greenwich Mean Time is the starting time zone. That's time 0. That runs right through Greenwich, England. All time zones are either plus or minus hours from that point. So as you travel west, away from the prime meridian, time's going to get earlier. As you travel east from the prime meridian, time's going to get later. That's because the sun is rising in the east. And as the Earth rotates in that direction from west to east, locations that are east of the prime meridian are experiencing the day sooner. Longitude was created based upon the 24-hour daily rotation of the Earth, and time zones were created from those lines of longitude to better keep track of moving across the Earth. So that's it for now.
So,
thanks for watching.
Here,
Longitude.
we have seen how can we calculate time with the help of longitude. Okay. Now, let's take a quick revise. Let's revise it quickly. What have we learned in both the sections? In both the sessions, what did we learn? About the longitudes, latitudes, equator, prime meridian, international date time, how to locate places, and how to calculate time. Okay? We will revise what we have learned in both the sessions. Okay?
Latitudes and longitudes. In this module, you learn about important parallels of latitudes and lines of longitude or meridian. We can see a network of lines which divides the Earth vertically and horizontally. The equator and the lines which run parallel to it are called parallels of latitude. Equator is the biggest of latitudes. The lines that run from North Pole to South Pole are all of equal length and are called meridians or meridians of longitude. The lines of latitude are always parallel to each other. They never intersect, but the lines of longitude meet at the North and the South Poles. Both latitude and longitude are numbered in degrees. These lines have latitude of 90 degrees at each of the 2 poles. Thus latitudes are measured north and south of the equator, and longitudes are measured east and west of the prime meridian. The globe is covered with a network of lines of latitude and longitude. This network is called grid. In this module, you've learned the following. The equator and the lines which run parallel to it are called parallels of latitude. Equator is the biggest of latitudes. The lines that run from North Pole to South Pole are all of equal length and are called meridians or meridians of longitude. Lines of latitudes are evenly spaced, but lines of longitudes are closer near the poles of the Earth. Both latitude and longitude are numbered in degrees. In case of latitude, the equator is the baseline for measurement. It is the latitude of 0 degrees. The lines of longitude are also numbered from 0 degree to 180 degree on either side towards the east and west of the prime meridian. The globe is covered with a network of lines of latitude and longitude. This network is called grid.
Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude, latitude, longitude, latitude. Yes, I know what longitude, latitude mean. Latitude is the angular distance measured in degrees. It tells how far from the equator any place happens to be. north or south from the equator, wherever a place may be. Latitude gives the angular distance scientifically. Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude,
Latitude,
longitude,
latitude. Yes, I know what longitude, latitude mean. Longitude is the angular distance measured in degrees. It tells how far from Greenwich, England, any place happens to be. East or west from Greenwich, England, wherever a place may be. Longitude gives the angular distance scientifically.
Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude,
Latitude,
longitude.
latitude.
Yes, we know what longitude, latitude mean. Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude,
Latitude,
longitude.
latitude.
Yes, I know what longitude, latitude mean. Latitude is the angular distance measured in degrees. It tells how far from the equator any place happens to be. North or south from the equator, wherever a place may be. Latitude gives the angular distance scientifically. Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude,
Latitude,
longitude.
latitude. Yes, I know what longitude, latitude mean. Longitude is the angular distance measured in degrees. It tells how far from Greenwich, England, any place happens to be. East or west from Greenwich, England, wherever a place may be. Longitude gives the angular distance scientifically.
Do you know what longitude, latitude, longitude? Do you know what longitude, latitude mean? Longitude,
Latitude,
longitude.
latitude.
Yes, we know what longitude, latitude mean.
Okay, so you have seen the clip and understood the whole chapter. Fine. Now, moving to the exercise. What have you learnt in all? Okay, what have you learnt in all? So, let's take a quick look up on the exercise. Now, our exercise. What is International Dateline? The first question is, what is International Dateline? International Dateline is a longitude line, okay, that runs through the Pacific Ocean and is exactly halfway around the world from the prime meridian. What is International Dateline? International Dateline is a longitude line that runs through the Pacific Ocean and is exactly halfway around the world from the prime meridian. Okay. Now our next question. The next question is, what is a grid? What is a grid? What did I tell you about it? I told you that the grid is a system of horizontal and vertical lines that cross each other to form a square. Okay? More easier if you want to write or you want to remember, then lines of latitude and longitude that crisscross each other to form a grid. Okay? Lines of latitudes and longitudes crisscross each other and form a grid. Okay? Now our next question is, which line helps you in calculating time and places? Which line helps you? I told you, no? It is the longitude. The longitude helps you in calculating time, and which line helps you in locating the places? It is the latitude. Okay? Now, what is the difference between two consecutive longitudes? How many minutes? 4 minutes. Okay? The difference between two consecutive longitudes are 4 minutes. Now you have to name the 4 hemispheres which are divided by equator and prime meridian. The equator divides the earth into 2 halves. It is in the center of the earth, and the prime meridian also divides the earth into 2 halves but vertically. Now the equator, while dividing the earth into 2 halves horizontally, makes 2 hemispheres. Which are they? Northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. And prime meridian divides the earth into 2 halves but vertically. Then it also gives the 2 hemispheres. Now these 2 hemispheres are Eastern hemisphere and Western hemisphere. I hope you have understood and enjoyed the whole chapter. Now I'll meet you in the next session. In the next session, we will go to the 3rd chapter, and our 3rd chapter will be rotation and revolution. It is a very interesting chapter, but by that time, just revise all the question answers of part 1 and part 2. Okay? Till then, have a nice day. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.